Brand Africa has awarded South Africa's public broadcaster, the SABC, with a Media Gold Award for the most admired media brand in Lesotho in the 2022 Brand Africa 100 Awards. In a prestigious ceremony held in Maseru last week, SABC scooped the first place as the media brand of choice. So SABC News Correspondent in Lesotho, Rapelang Radebe, took to the streets to test the brand appreciation in the streets of Maseru.
To many, SABC is a house brand, while others may not really separate which one is SABC 1, SABC 2, but they are familiar with that particular brand. Hence the reason that when being asked about which is the best brand that they can link and associate with, it is easier to identify with SABC as a brand. Tell me, do you watch news?
I do.
And do you watch SABC? What do you like about it?
The news, the soapies, also the documentaries are so educational. I love the documentaries mostly.
Do you watch SABC?
Not
sure. Do you think generally Lesotho associate with SABC?
Yeah, I think they do because, you know, let me say my mom, she watches the news on SABC, on TV most of the time. She likes them a lot.
Lesotho news, not very much because they're not as frequent. So with SABC News, I get to watch a lot of updated news each and every time, each and every hour. There's always something coming up.
Do you watch SABC?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch and follow the news?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't see Lesotho news often, but yes, with news, it updates us almost every day. So.
That is so nice to hear. So welcome to everyone watching from Lesotho, and let's chat a little bit more about this. Tebe Ikalafeng is here in studio with us. He, of course, is the founder and chairperson of Brand Africa. So nice to see you, Tebe. Welcome.
Good to see you, Leanne, and congratulations again on your knighthood by the French.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It was so nice to have you there, by the way. But listen, I'm more listening to what's happening in Lesotho and watching SABC and enjoying the product that's put out there. This is wonderful. What was the ceremony like?
Well, it was amazing. It was a full house. It was a live stream, but it was one of the first live events that we're having. It was the third in a row that I'm holding. Started in Nigeria on Africa Day on the 25th, looking at West African and Nigerian brands, or the best brands in Nigeria and West Africa. I came to Ivory Coast to look at the best French brands and Francophone brands. Then I came down to Lesotho to do the best brands in Southern Africa, and in particular in Lesotho. But it was a wonderful day, just well received, and a tremendous day.
You kind of don't really realize the reach when you are doing what we're doing. You know, you just work and you keep working, but you don't realize that you're going out to so many different countries. I mean, I know Lesotho is right there. I mean, you know, they're right in the corner with us here in South Africa. But I mean, it is a separate country who have their own issues, and you know the reality is that they are relying on the SABC is fantastic, and I'm sure that speaks for a lot of other countries in the continent.
But it also speaks to the nature of brands, because brands travel, and brands people have relationships with brands, and they rely on brands because brands express who they are and gives them opportunity, and it's a way for them to engage with them. So if you look at a brand like the SABC, for example, if you look at the countries which are contiguous to South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho, those countries, Swaziland, you're bound to see a South African brands, if you will, and SABC is among the strong ones. I mean, if you look at just in South Africa, of course, itself, SABC being number 2 to DSTV, but DSTV is not necessarily a media. DSTV is a channel of channels. Yeah. And so in essence, you could say, even in South Africa, SABC is the #1 media brand. And in the top 10 in South Africa alone, you've got Radio Metro at number 6, and you've got Motsweding at number 10. So those are all SABC brands. So in the top 10 in South Africa, you've got 3 SABC brands. Then you go to Botswana, which is also another country. You look at SABC is number 8 in Botswana, and in Lesotho is number 1. Yeah. And I understand that because having been to every country and understanding brands in different countries, I get to see the brands, how they travel, the brands that are relevant and meaningful. And I think, as you heard from one of the listeners or viewers of SABC there, and they said they rely on the SABC, and they said that they rely on it because of its consistency and of its relevance in their lives. So yes, If you only sit in one place, you don't get to see really how these brands are, how important they are to everybody.
And it is important to go out into a country and actually understand and see, how they treat different brands and how those brands are interpreted into their cultures in the different countries. And that's exactly what you've been doing.
Indeed.
So I want to talk a little bit about the travels, because you were saying before you sat down, you've been to 7 different countries to launch this. Is that right?
Well, I've been to 5 countries in the last 10 days.
Oh, there. Okay.
Well, it'll be 6 really by the end of the day.
By the end of the day, 6 countries, exactly.
Days.
So we're heading there fast. So, I mean, from Nigeria to Lesotho to here, and now you're off to Uganda.
We're going off to Uganda now, and we're going to celebrate the best brands in Uganda. And again, the thing with media, actually, what is so interesting is that media tends to be very fragmented, and it tends to be very local. So when your media brand moves across borders, it really speaks to the strength of its brand. And that's what we notice around the continent, that the brands which are dominating the continent tend to be the transversal brands, or rather the international brands, the BBCs, the Al Jazeera's and the CNNs and all those. So when your brand, so regionally, you then get to see the strong regional brands, and SABC being one of them. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing around the continent. I mean, it's my life's work to try and champion Made in Africa brands and to ensure that Africans create and consume Made in Africa brands.
Yeah. Let's talk about the biggest brands now on the continent, because I'm reading that MTN has stolen the top spot when it comes to big brands.
So in the top brands, the number 1 overall brand is Nike, for the 5th year in a row.
Yeah.
It's incredible, the strength of that brand, but then it's a very relevant brand. It's constantly innovating and very connected to its consumers. That's the number 1 brand overall in the continent. The number 1 brand, number 1 African brand, is MTN.
Amazing.
I mean, it's on over 20 countries, and the strength of MTN as well is unparalleled, because it's present, but it's also meaningful in the different countries. I think it's about 22 countries or so. And it's truly one of South Africa, and certainly one of Africa's most Pan-African brands by a large margin. And in the survey this year, we looked at spontaneous recall of the brands. We also looked at prompted recall. So in the prompted recall, we asked the question, what is your most admired African brand? In the spontaneous, we just say, what is your most admired brand? And MTN is top of the African list on both fronts. And that's on the media brand, on the African brands. Then you look at the financial services brands, GT Bank out of Nigeria, another strong brand which is very innovative. I mean, they sponsor fashion shows or fashion weeks and all those. They're very innovative banks, one of the first to go digital. So you can see that for a brand to stay relevant, has to continually innovate and stay ahead of its consumers. And then the number 1 brand that symbolizes African pride, Dangote.
Yeah.
And it's a question that we asked this year, because we said, yes, African brand, but we said now we want to specifically understand what is the one brand that symbolizes the ambitions and the values and the culture and the vision of Africa. And Dangote is that, Nigeria's Dangote. And understand that, because when you go to the markets around Nigeria, for example, and you go to country, whether it's Chad or whether it's Niger or all those, you get to see the bags of Dangote around, you get to see his face. So there's a combination of, we know the person, we know the brand, we know its relevance in our lives. So, and then we ask the number 1 overall media brand in the continent. Again, it's DSTV.
It's DSTV. And like you were saying, that's not necessarily...
It's not necessarily a media
exactly.
thing.
It just carries a host of different
But I think
outlets.
it speaks well to South Africa as well,
Yeah.
that among the 5 anchor categories of the Brand Africa survey, which has been conducting since 2011. So it's the 12th year that we are doing the survey, and we've expanded the countries from 8 countries when we started in 2011 to 29 countries this year. And those countries all collectively account for 85% of the continent's population and GDP. So to stand out among those countries really speaks well to
Absolutely amazing. And conducting basically over 80,000 brand mentions and 3,500 unique brands. My final question to you is, who's the brand to look out for?
Oh, who's the brand to look out for?
Because that is important. I mean, you speak about big boys here. Whether we talk SABC, DSTV, MTN, Dangote, these are huge. But Is there a brand that is a shining star that's coming up? I want it to be South African, that is coming up and sort of spreading around the continent.
Well, you are very lucky that there's two,
Oh,
and they
good.
are South African.
Yeah?
So in the top 100 brands in the continent, you've got two South African brands which were all created in the less than 5 years.
Yeah.
You've got Drip at 65, and you've got Batu at number 52.
Fantastic.
So those brands have done something phenomenal. Because, normally you look at the big established brands like the Coca-Cola, which has been in the rankings for the past 10 years in a row, top 5, past 10 years in a row. Coca-Cola started in 1886. When you look at the average age of the non-African brands, they're all at about 80 years, 85 years. And the average age of African brands are less than half of that. And you have Batu and Drip, which were created less than 5 years in the top 100. It's phenomenal. But they spend a lot of money in marketing.
Yeah.
They are very present. They are very connected to their youth. And to me, that's a fantastic. And we're proud to do this because had it known, because when we started this initiative, we wanted to set a baseline of what are those brands which are coming up. But we also wanted the baseline, the research to be very independent. I didn't want people to say it's Tebe and his best friend sitting in the corner. And that's why we've got Kantar and Geopol, which are the two biggest research companies in the world, working with
That are
us.
conducting this with you.
Research. I'm just the pretty face that presents.
Good.
They do all the work.
Well, you carry on being pretty and dressing the way you do, because we always love it. All right, so that's it. Those are the two brands I was looking for, and I'm so glad. I mean, Batu and Drip. Drip is everywhere. When I drive to work, it literally is dripping drip. It's unbelievable. I love it, but well done to them. South African brands making us proud. All right, Tebe, thank you. Travel safely. Enjoy Uganda.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to visit there myself. Tebe Ekalafeng.
And keep building a great brand, the SABC. And congratulations again. I mean, we've got a golden asset here, which is meaningful to a lot of South Africans because it's accessible to them. But you can also see that it's also an important brand, as I saw yesterday, the EFF tweeted, that it also can speak to our ability to have regional relationships and Pan-Africanism. Congratulations.
So true. Nicely put there, Tebe. Thanks very, very much. Founder and chairperson of Brand Africa. Let's take a break. See you with headlines after this.